for a bit. Before I decided to pass out and go to
Man, I can't
bed.
see shit like I'm drunk. I keep throwing that damn purple smoke at me. I guess hoping that I'll scream or something. But he know I'm over here. I guess. He got me back
I'll
in the
be right
corner.
back, guys.
You know I can't come down and get you.
Yeah.
Damn, I'm about to lose this damn king.
Why? I don't understand.
99.45. 950. Huh? Yep.
He's trying to mess on shit.
Yeah, I know he is.
Sonya? You want to smoke anything?
You must think it's funny.
I guess he is. Must think it's funny playing around. If you let me heal myself up and collect points, I'll do it. Can't see shit.
This is so ridiculous.
I don't think he's doing is giving you more points. By doing that. Cause he ain't gonna let me leave.
What you watching? Bones. That's a chair we're having, bro.
Nice.
Nice, son. Good.
Because he said, fuck it, I'm done playing, I guess. He got so mad, he couldn't jump off the game. So he got so mad, he left the game. Mm.
Is he a newer killer?
Oh, wow. Huh?
Is he a newer killer?
No, he's been on there. You probably just ain't see him because they're random.
So people that play killers don't get to pick killers.
No, he went outside working on his truck for a bit.
They can pick what killer want to be, but the ones we're facing, we don't know until the game starts. So each killer we're facing is random. So whoever picked the killer, they'll know who they picked, but we won't know until we play the game.
Hey, talking to you, Spencer.
So at the same time, so yeah, so pretty much it'll just be kind of off and on. Most of the time we'd be getting, you know, the same one a lot of times, whatever. If not, then it'd just be different ones or whatever. But I don't know. Tonight's been crazy with these same killers and shit. And I don't know. Like that one, he was playing around. I'm not sure what he was doing. He kept throwing that damn smoke and shit out.
Hey Spencer,
So
who are you
like,
talking
okay,
to?
I'll collect points or whatever, and like yeah, you know, go ahead and keep doing it. I'll just collect the points and let it be done with that one. And then let's see if I bring my whatchamacallit back down a little bit. But apparently, you know, it really didn't do much of that. So.
Quickly to trap and lock wetness away, keeping your baby's skin drier and healthier. For a diaper that stays drier, count on Pampers. The health of your baby's skin starts with the Pampers they're in.
Hey Spencer.
William George Herring, Lonnie David Franklin Jr., Albert Fish, Harvey Murray Blackman, Clifford Robert Olson Jr., James D'Angelo, Sheila LaBar, Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer. Ordinary names, but for serial killers, ordinary names are never good enough. We have to give them names that capture their dark souls, names that capture the evil they have become, capture the rare unthinkable. The lipstick killer, the grim sleeper, the Brooklyn vampire, the Lonely Hearts Killer, the Beast of British Columbia, the Golden State Killer, the Avenging Angel, the Milwaukee Cannibal.
When we hear about somebody who moves from community to community, calculating who to kill next, which prostitute to get, these crimes shock the conscience because they're so out of the ordinary. They're so different from what, sadly, we've become quite used to. The more ordinary rape, the more ordinary assault, the more ordinary robbery, the more ordinary kidnapping. There are these crimes that just shock the conscience, and so I fully understand why the public is preoccupied with them. I think they are so outside the box that we have this understandable need to try to grasp. Why would somebody do that? That's human nature. Why would somebody take a rifle, sit behind a barricade, and wait for innocent victims? Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody look for vulnerable children, kidnap them, torture them?
Alright guys, we're on a hunt for the blood-stained saber-tooth.
It's hard for us to wrap our minds around these kinds of crimes.
So I'm more likely I'll probably die, but you know
It
what?
makes complete sense to me that
It's all good, I'll eventually get him.
a human being would be both fascinated by this, horrified by this, mystified by this, and preoccupied by this. Why?
True crime. Americans. particularly women, love true crime. A non-fiction literature, TV, and film genre in which actual crimes of real people are explored in depth. A genre which exploded at the beginning of the 21st century. A genre that focuses on murder. The more hideous and bizarre, the better. Cases in point. The Jean Bonnet murder, the O.J. Simpson trial, and Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. All showed there was a vast appetite all across America for such stories. But the biggest subcategory of true crime is the story of the serial killer. These stories are the most gruesome and shocking. At the heart of these stories lay perplexing questions. Who are these serial killers? Why do they kill? How can they keep killing? And are they a danger to me and my family? Prior to the true crime explosion, psychologists and criminal investigators thought they had the serial killer figured out. But it turns out the answers are much more complex and troubling. Even the profile of the typical serial killer has changed dramatically. It is a change in the profile of who serial killers are and why they kill. It is a change that will send chills up your spine. In the past, largely because of media portrayals, the serial killer was a white male somewhere between 20 and 40 years of age, psychopathic, and probably quite smart. No serial killer helped to shape that media image better than Ted Bundy.
If you ever watch that interview with Ted Bundy, his last day before he was executed, the entire time Bundy is shifting
Game plan, Chris.
Cry Primal.
because that's what psychopaths do. Psychopaths are what
Yeah, I don't you beat that game already, man.
No.
We don't try to control it. We just try to survive ourselves. We're trying to control people around us. True psychopaths, that's what they do. Control
I beat it before my old PS4, yeah, but since I got it, no, I haven't beat it.
I'm looking on PlayStation now, see what games they have on here.
Huh?
I'm talking about PlayStation now.
Yeah.
Broke the mold in many ways. A man who is estimated to have killed anywhere from 30 to 100 women. A brutal serial killer who told everyone that he was a rapist who had to kill in order to stay free. Mysteriously, Ted Bundy appeared to be anything but a serial killer. He was a Boy Scout, a prominent member of the Republican Party in the state of Washington. He even volunteered at Seattle, Washington's suicide hotline.
Ted Bundy, who killed dozens of women across the country, also worked on a suicide hotline in Seattle. He also saved the life of a 4-year-old drowning boy. And whether he was taking lives or saving lives, he was feeling powerful. And that's a very important motive among serial killers.
Adding to his mystique, Bundy was a brilliant student, admired by his college professors.
I think one of the most interesting things about Ted Bundy is the image that people have of him. He is seen as some kind of misguided genius. You know, really not such a bad guy. I mean, after all, he only killed dozens of women across the country. You know, in Washington and Utah, Colorado, Michigan, and Florida. And by the way, he was also a rapist. His last victim was a 12-year-old girl in Florida, Kimberly Leach. He murdered her by shoving her face in the mud until she suffocated. You know, I don't see him as a misguided anything. I see him as a monster.
As a serial killer, Bundy had a number of factors working in his favor. He was an ordinary, good-looking guy. A guy who used all the glad-handing skills he learned during his days of associating politicians.
I think there's a myth that is propagated because Ted Bundy was a charming, handsome guy. It was easy for him to lure his victims. He didn't look like the monster that he was. He was extraordinarily ordinary. He was the last person suspected, not the first. And that, I think, colored the image that we have of serial killers ever since the 1970s.
It is the myth of the evil serial killer genius. The serial killer genius, brilliantly portrayed by Anthony Hopkins in the 1991 movie The Silence of the Lambs. But with Ted Bundy, what appeared to be genius may have been dumb luck more than anything else.
One of the things about Ted Bundy that I think sets him apart, besides the sheer number of women that he killed, was his chutzpah. This was a guy who was very brash in many of the things that he did, and committed crimes that were that took a great deal of risk to perform. In one case, he went to a very popular recreation area, Lake Sammamish, and wore a fake cast on his arm, and elicited the help of 2 different young women to help get a boat onto or off of his automobile, and then actually got them to accompany him to another location where twice in the same day he raped and murdered these 2 women in the same location. They were both kidnapped in a very public place. Numerous people saw him that day, were able to provide descriptions of him that day, were able to provide a description of his automobile, and yet he wasn't apprehended.
Bundy was born in Burlington, Vermont, at the Elizabeth Lund Home for Unwed Mothers. The identity of his father was never known, though relatives were suspicious about his grandfather, who was abusive and violent to his mother, Louise. Raised by his grandparents, he believed his mother was really his sister. Indeed, the truth about Bundy's young mom was hidden for the next 20 years. In 1950, Louise and Ted moved to Tacoma, Washington, where she married Johnny Culpepper Bundy. Throughout his childhood and into college, Bundy remained shy and never fit in socially. While attending the University of Washington, he met a vivacious young co-ed, Stephanie Brooks, who later dumped him because of his immaturity and lack of ambition. But Bundy wasn't through with her. In fact, in a macabre fashion, he would never be through with her. In 1968, Bundy changed. He became more ambitious. A man who wanted to be in charge. He rekindled his relationship with Stephanie. Then, just after New Year's 1974, he abruptly broke it off.
Don't put the rest of the refrigerator.
A few days later, he began his violent attacks against women. Once Bundy began killing, he became an insatiable murderer. His signature was his brutality. All his victims, except the last, were killed by a savage blow to the head. At the same time, all his victims looked like his ex-girlfriend.
Ted Bundy, he chose his victims, I think, because of the appearance of his girlfriend. If you look at photographs of his victims, all of them have the long dark hair, and usually it's parted down the middle, and there's a very similar appearance to each one of them, which is a very similar appearance to his girlfriend.
Bundy's first known murder victim was a 21-year-old college student. Linda Ann Hughes. Bundy snuck into her apartment, knocked her unconscious, wrapped her in a sheet, and carried her out of the apartment. Her skull was found a year later. Now, Bundy's frenzy for rape and murder dominated him completely. For the next year and a half, Bundy murdered at least 27 women as he traveled through Oregon, Colorado, and Utah on a brutal killing spree. Police in each state reported female victims, all young and attractive. He was finally captured in Granger, Utah, after a botched kidnapping. Bundy was sentenced to 15 years. But escaping from jail, he made it to Florida, where he killed at least 3 more times before he was caught and sentenced to death in Florida's electric chair, Old Sparky. On January 24th, 1989, the so-called genius of death was himself finally dead. So what is the truth about who are serial killers? Criminal psychologist Dr. Eric Hickey updates the serial killer profile.
There are thousands of movies done about white serial killers, but there's only one was ever done by a black serial killer. And according to FBI definition, over 50% of all serial killers are African American.
For example, Lonnie Franklin was a black serial killer who lived in Los Angeles. He was known as the Grim Sleeper. The nickname was due to a 14-year hiatus in the murders from 1988 to 2002. The murders occurred in Los Angeles.
He was going after black women. Okay, they're prostitutes. Low-hanging fruit. It's easy to get to. People aren't going to miss them. He wasn't going after middle-class black women or wealthy women. He was going after black prostitutes who were kind of faceless. And that really kind of made him visible. The only reason he came back to life was because it had been 14 years they made a connection. Did he kill other people? Possibly. He had not made that connection yet. Some of the big deaths make that connection because he was kind of hiding in plain sight. He was right there. Folks would by him all the time.
Neighbors described Franklin as friendly and quiet. He would sometimes stop to chat with people in the neighborhood and was frequently seen working on cars in his front yard. Lonnie openly spoke with contempt about prostitutes, said they deserved to die, and photographs he had taken of women in sexually explicit poses. A friend of Franklin said he had violent fantasies. He was putting the girls down, saying someone is going to kill these girls, saying they were going to wind up dead. Interestingly, Franklin used the same small caliber revolver to murder his victims after assaulting and strangling them, and then kept photos of his victims as trophies in his home. His known victims included Deborah Jackson, Henrietta Wright, Barbara Ware, Bonita Sparks, Mary Lowe, Alice Monique Alexander, Lucretia Jefferson, Anitra Washington, Valerie McCorby, Janice Peters, and Princess Bartholomew. Franklin was apprehended when DNA evidence linked him to the murders. He was arrested on July 7, 2010, at his home in the Manchester Square neighborhood. He was finally convicted for the deaths of 9 women and a teenage girl, and was sentenced to death on August 10, 2016. Another less-known black serial killer was the Milwaukee North Side Strangler, a name given to Walter E. Ellis, who raped and strangled 7 female prostitutes in the city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, between 1986 and 2007.
Usually he was kind of in that seedy underbelly of the city, and he'd grab women off the streets and he'd take them to abandoned, filthy buildings kill them and then move their bodies. They finally caught him after, I think, 12 years. And what they did was, they got DNA from him on a victim, and they charged the DNA, the donor of the DNA, to keep the case open. So when they arrested the guy, the sexual assaults wouldn't have run out because of time limits. So they charged that DNA. It was a great move.
On February 24th, 2011, Ellis was given 7 life sentences. 2 years later, he died in prison.
After parenting, you're a pro. You know your kid doesn't step around pumps. And you know cheap leaky diapers are an amateur move. You need Love's Pro level leak protection. Love's, parent like a pro.
투시 과숑 놈파자.
Pampers traps and locks wetness away, keeping baby skin drier and healthier. The health of your baby's skin starts with Pampers They're In.
Notice that the killing pattern here fits the mold of many white male serial killers. Men hiding in plain sight, while at night, brutally killing female victims lost to the world through prostitution, drugs, and homelessness. FBI agents now know that Hispanics also fit the profile of a serial killer. The most notorious was Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker. Born in Texas in 1960, Richard Ramirez was an Hispanic-American serial killer who murdered at least 14 people and raped and tortured at least 24 more, mostly during the spring and summer of 1985. After developing epilepsy as a child, he became a heavy drug user and cultivated an interest in Satanism, which became a calling card for investigators at his crime scenes. His fall into complete evil and a life of killing began in California at age 24. He lived in LA, where petty theft and burglaries bankrolled his drug habit. Then, stealing turned to murder.
One of the things that sets it apart a little bit is
he stopped, and then he stopped, and this began his journey up and down the coast.
Harris would attack middle-class families in the middle of the night. He was seen as a tremendous threat to the residents of Los Angeles. He was seen as what he was, a guy who could attack anyone, which means that you could be next. And that terrified the people who lived there.
He was the worst of them all. He entered where people thought they were the safest, their homes. He shot some, he stabbed some, and he killed some to death. He mutilated the bodies of many. In the end, 14 were dead, and who knows how many others he raped and sodomized. But one of these victims escaped. Apprehended in August 1985, Ramirez was sentenced to death at the conclusion of his trial in 1989. He spent the remainder of his days at California's San Quentin prison before dying from cancer on June 7, 2013 at age 53. But not all serial killers take women as victims. Some prefer boys and young men. Such was the case of John Wayne Gacy, the clown killer, a disreputable homosexual serial killer. This overtly macho man with the name John Wayne would kill at least 33 young men and boys between the age of 15 and 21. John Wayne Gacy was born in Chicago, Illinois on March 17, 1942, and, like most serial killers, he had a troubled youth.
John Gacy apparently had a very overbearing father, a dominating father. They make a lot of the fact that he would disappear into his basement, after, drunkenly raging upon the family. He would then disappear into a basement to which the children were not allowed. But essentially, Gacy was a man who lived in his day-to-day life as sexually straight. He had a wife. He had children. He was a known person in his community. He dressed as a clown and did children's parties and things of this nature. Yet he obviously had within him not only the violent desire to control and murder people, but he controlled and murdered boys. His homosexual nature of his crimes was in stark contrast to his day-to-day life. He was a straight man and an upright model of the community. But he apparently used the lure of kind of a party, like, hey, in my basement you can watch porno movies, you can smoke pot, you can get drunk even though you're not old enough. And he apparently had something he called the handcuff trick, where he would show that he had this trick pair of handcuffs and he'd put them on and then show how they came off. And then he would either switch the handcuffs to a different pair or use the same pair but not share the trick of how to get off them, put them on, and once he had control of the victim, he gave in to the darkest of the inner demons and tortured his victims apparently at length and over an extended period of time before killing them and then ultimately depositing them in his basement with lime as well to hasten the decomposition of their bodies.
Typical of a blossoming serial killer, Gacy's perverted behavior surfaced in his mid-20s. He was prosecuted for sodomizing 2 teenage boys in Waterloo, Iowa in 1968. He probably committed more criminal acts
What's up, man?
for which he was
Yeah, my bad.
It's okay, bud.
After 2 years in prison, he was paroled and moved back to Chicago.
I went through almost all these games on this PlayStation now. I can't find nothing to play.
He continued his perverted actions,
Really?
sodomizing young boys.
I ain't played them. I just said I was browsing through them.
Yeah. It's kind of bad you can find all those games, but you can't find anything.
He chose to kill, knowing full well that it was wrong. His targets were young men who have been defined by criminologists as less than dead. Men and women who live on the fringes of society. People who, if killed, would not be missed. In Gacy's case, young male prostitutes and homeless runaways.
There was
actually young male prostitutes, man.
Who had sort of had connections within the gay community, and there was talk amongst the gay community, the prostitute community at least, that awful lot of boys were going missing without, being known. And in fact, there was a case of one boy who had been taken to Gacy's house. He had played the handcuff trick on him. He choked him. He repeatedly forced his head underwater in a bathtub and then let him breathe and then put him back underwater almost to death. And then for reasons known only to Gacy, he let him go. And this young fellow remembered the type of car that the rapist had and sort of what the exit looked like that he got off the highway. And his family waited there at that exit, waiting for someone to come who had a car that looked like what he said the car looked like. They found it. They followed it to his house. They reported it to the police. The police came. They investigated, but did not believe the boy's story. And he was able to continue his activities for 7 years.
But like many serial killers, John
So you ought to watch some Dahmer, man.
became cocky and overconfident.
He had abducted a boy who had just left a drugstore where he picked up some photographs that had been developed. When the boy disappeared, Gacy's name came up. Gacy had some record. He did have a record of having, of some sexual crimes, and so that was a red flag for the cops. They came to his house, they searched his house, and they found the ticket for those photographs. And so they knew that the boy had been in his house.
He was pretty bold in the way he committed his killings. He seemed to think that if you put light on there, no one was going to smell the dead bodies deteriorating. And basically that was his probability, because the police officer who had been actually having dinner with Gacy had been playing a game as he'd been under surveillance for a long time after a lieutenant in the Des Plaines Police Department had taken more time with this missing persons case because his boy was the same age as the boy who was missing.
It's pouring down rain over here.
It ain't over here, so.
Gacy just invited him.
Yeah, it's been pouring down rain most of this afternoon anyway, but there's more rain now.
Smelling something and he didn't know what it was. And for days he couldn't figure it out. And it finally dawned on him that it was autopsy smell. So that's when they got a warrant based on police officer's nose, and Gacy was done right then and there.
The Gacy case was so incredible, killing and burying 30 young victims right in his own home.
Ah! Degree! Degree!
And so sensational.
How high?
As anti-heroes.
Damn it!
But John Wayne Gacy was an anti-hero. He was no more than a pathetic man who chose to kill again and again. Just as ethnic minorities and homosexual men joined the recognized ranks of serial killers, so did women. Perhaps their number of victims even exceed that of men.
We've certainly had females who are more aggressive than some male serial killers. There isn't a way to say there's a female type of serial killer, because some kill for gain. Quite often they kill for gain. They kill their husbands, they for insurance, or whatever the husband has. They might kill their children because the children are a burden, or they're looking for attention, or they have a mental illness. Quite often you're going to find something like Munchausen syndrome by proxy in that group, or borderline personality disorder, something like that. But we still do have predatory females who are looking for personal gain. They don't tend to kill for reasons of lust, but some have. I've actually seen statements where there's no such thing as a female lust murder, and that's just not true.
There was the case of Gail Graham and Catherine May Wood.
There were two who worked together in an elder care facility in Michigan, and they would together kill patients and then as part of their sex games, and then wash down the bodies and have sex in a big room.
The two women met at the Alpine Manor Resort shortly after Graham moved to Michigan, Texas. They quickly became friends, and then lovers, in 1986. 2 years later, they both were facing murder charges for allegedly smothering 5 elderly patients as part of a love plot. Wood claimed Graham murdered the patient to relieve her tension. Wood was described as the psychopathic manipulator, and Graham as a susceptible woman with a personality disorder. Graham is serving a life sentence, and Wood was given early release from prison. So not only are women part of the expanded profile of the serial saint, but also gay women. So serial killers are not just white males. In fact, serial killers are represented by a full spectrum of gender and racial diversity. But what about the idea that serial killers are all clever, intelligent, even brilliant? That idea came from an early sample of interviews with white male serial killers.
The early profilers in the behavioral science unit, as it was called then, it's now the behavioral analysis unit, but they went around and did some prison interviews which were not in any way representative. It was white, incarcerated, articulate serial killers who agreed to talk to them. That is not a representative population by any means. So from that, they generated notions about serial killers. And if you pick the ones who are articulate and smart, they're going to seem as if serial killers are smarter than the average person.
What's your folks up, man? They sleep?
That's not true. There's diversity in their intellect, in their range of IQ scores, just the
come on, motherfucker.
Everything else about them. So unfortunately, many of the early ideas ended up in criminological textbooks and other kinds of mass media books about serial killers came from studies that really were representative of serial killers.
Interestingly, the definition of a serial killer has changed in recent decades as well.
Got you.
Somebody kills at least in these 3 locations, at least 3 incidents with the cooling off period, to now someone who kills in at least 2 incidents without any of the psychological framework. And so that makes a difference in terms of what we think about what goes on in the mind of the murderer. Generally speaking, we tend to focus on what's usually called the classic serial killer, which is generally driven by lust.
Her skin can actually soak up wetness her neighbor doesn't. That's why I use Pampers.
Pampers traps and locks wetness away, keeping baby skin drier and healthier. The health of your baby's skin starts with the Pampers they're in.
When it comes to parenting, you're a pro. You know reflexes are key. You know your kid doesn't step around puddles and wet shoes. Not cool. You know what else isn't cool? Those cheap leaky diapers. Because with Loves, you get the pro-level leak protection you're looking for. Loves. Parent like a pro.
Where you at, you bastard? I know you're around here.
Yeah, he's hiding out.
Indeed,
Okay, I found the mammoth.
And law enforcement investigators having a sexual component to the serial killer
But I don't need that
to be essential
yet.
motivation behind these cruel acts.
Many serial killers
Great Scarlet Bear.
use sex as a vehicle for gaining a sense of power and control and dominance over their victims. It's not just taking their lives. It's
He's right
making
there.
their victims suffer. They maximize the pain. And it's not enough to view the pain and suffering of their victims. They personally are responsible for it. And that gives them a sense of superiority. The more their poor victims scream and beg for mercy, the better they feel about themselves. And that's part of the motivation of a serial killer. Sex is the medium through which they feel great accomplishments. What you and I might see as dastardly, as hideous, as grotesque, these serial killers see as their greatest achievements in life.
The sexual component in serial killings can take many forms. Gary Ridgway, Washington State's Green River killer, strangled his female victims and dumped their bodies in forested and overgrown areas of King County, Washington. Later, he returned to the bodies to have sexual intercourse with them. Notorious Son of Sam, David Berkowitz, appeared to be an exception.
Berkowitz, the 44 caliber killer, or whatever he's referred to as now, is also referred to Son of Sam because of the dog that he supposedly heard from that told him to commit these acts, which he claimed at one time. I think killed because he enjoyed it. I think he's just one of those people that was enraged and probably had some trauma in his background that was primed to go out and start shooting people. He had been lonely. There are a number of explanations you could give because there's not a whole lot of detail known about Berkowitz prior to the killings. But as to what makes him tick, I think it's I don't know. I think it's trauma.
Seth Stone.
And the trauma that caused the rage that finally broke out into what he considered his fantasies, which was shooting people, shooting couples with a weapon, 44 caliber revolver.
Most serial killers are up close and personal with their victims. They use their hands. They strangle, they stab, they mutilate. And that's what makes them feel good. It's the control that they have over the pain and suffering of their poor victims. But Son of Sam was different. David Berkowitz used a firearm to kill his 6 victims. So he actually distanced himself from them. And it's that fact alone that makes you wonder what his motive was.
The Son of Sam was born Richard David Falco in Brooklyn, New York in 1953. The adopted son of Nathan and Pearl Berkowitz, he was an odd and aloof child. He delighted in setting fires. Berkowitz joined the U.S. Air Force and served from 1971 to 1974. As he matured, a dark, compulsive need to kill took over his body. A need he could not suppress for very long. His reign of terror lasted from July 1976 to July 1977. He shot unsuspecting victims from point-blank range, killing 6 and wounding 7. During this time, the New York Police Department erupted with eyewitness accounts of a mysterious and elusive assailant. Terror engulfed the city. Berkowitz especially loved young, attractive women with long, brunette hair, and many frightened girls dyed their hair blonde. He also enjoyed sending letters around the city, taunting the police.
Dear Captain Joseph Borelli, I am deeply hurt by your calling me a women hater. I am not, but I am a monster. I am the Son of Sam. I'm a little brat. Police, let me haunt you with these words. I'll be back. I'll be back. To be interpreted as bang, bang, bang. Yours in murder, Mr. Monster.
Berkowitz is now serving 6 life sentences. But
6 life sentences.
Berkowitz was a serial killer, you know that. And he was basically in one place, a neighborhood. He killed one man. Okay. Now, how would a serial killer? What's the component? What's the sexual component to that? Well, the sexual component is he would come back to the crime scene and masturbate. So there was even a sexual component to what Berkowitz did. Even though his numbers were not hands-on. He fired
However, 21st century serial killer experts no longer believe there has to be a sexual component to serial killing.
When we're talking about male serial killers, especially here in the U.S., about 2/3 of them have a sexual component to murders. There's a sort of a myth about that if you're a serial killer, you must be a sexual predator. Well, there's sexual, obviously, when we say about 2/3 do that. And it's a variety of sexual things that they do with their victims.
What part's on the game now?
I'm just doing some stuff for crafting right now. I just got the part where I got the Bloodfang Sabertooth, which is a legendary animal.
It can be anything from glory or fame to lust to paraphilias, which is a special type of sexual deviancy, which results in weird kind of rituals. It could also be for profit. It could be philosophical. We had a couple of serial killers who were killing for existential kinds of reasons. So the mind of a murderer really depends on what's going on with the particular killer.
Within the group of serial killers that are sexual predators, some are sadistic, like John Wayne Gacy, and torture their victims before they kill them.
And John Wayne Gacy was a very sexually sadistic serial killer. I mean, he didn't just kill his victims, he tortured them to death very slowly. We know that he would chew up the penises of some of his victims while they were alive. And he would also put a wire around their neck and turn like a stick. He would turn it slowly, like them from the
Wow, he put a wire around the neck and everything.
So he really enjoyed, and he had a ball in their mouth so he could hear them scream, but other people couldn't hear him scream. So he enjoyed that kind of power over them, and it was very sexually arousing them to hear them screaming and crying while they're dying slowly. Killed 33 young men that way.
A case of a non-sadistic sexual predator is Larry Dwayne Hall. Born in 1962, the son of an undertaker, he was bullied as a youth. Between 1987 and 1994, he killed at least 54 women.
Larry was necrophile. And you find that when you interview necrophiles, they're attacking people. They're not interested in this. They're not sadistic. They're much more into having a relationship with the corpse. And someone immediately. So, snap it up, so it's something very quickly. So, I just will kill them and bury them, but we can cool off a couple. So, have sex with the bodies.
One idea about the mind of serial killers, particularly sexual predators, that there seems to be some agreement about is the idea that these violent killers have a rich fantasy life about their evil deeds.
Men, serial killers, that are involved in sex crimes have a very, very bizarre, strange, and violent fantasy life in their head. And it gets stranger, and more violent as it progresses. Okay? And it's all purpose. It's there almost all the time. Wesley Dodd, who abducted young boys and killed them, said that he dreamt about these men. They were there to do it himself. How he could maintain a job is beyond me. Okay? And there's a gentleman from Wisconsin, John Weber, who basically, his fantasies were so intense, he had to leave his workstation about 4 or 5 times a day to go to the bathroom and masturbate at work.
Wesley Dodd, known as the Vancouver Child Killer, was born in Walla Walla, Washington. Dodd, one of the worst serial killers, was convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder of innocent children.
I've been molesting kids nonstop since I was 13 years old, over half my life. Anything happened,
Are they talking about you on the movie?
Hell no. I never did anything like that to nobody.
Got the Ed Gaines, man. Jeffrey Dahmer.
For the sole purpose of sexual assault and murder. They're much worse than pedophiles. A pedophile might sexually assault a child and certainly not kill that child. But mice and pets kill children.
I need 4 more animal hides.
Vampires take him home, keep him for a few days.
Shit.
Sleep with them, and then he kind of whisper at night, "I'm going to kill you tomorrow morning." And the little boy would say, "Oh no, you're not going to do that." And he would come back from work or wherever he was, and he would kill the child. He was arrested, tried to abduct a young boy in a movie theater. And the boy was giving up a fight, and someone came over and he said, "Is this your dad? It's not my dad," etc. And the police arrested him, and the rest is history for him. He was executed.
It turns out, serial killers say in interviews, the reality is never as good as the fantasy, which is one of the reasons they keep killing to fulfill their fantasy. One of the early debates over serial killers is the bad seed debate. Whether the serial killer, like Wesley Dodd, was the worst of the worst, is born evil or becomes evil as a result of circumstances.
If you're looking
He
at
wants
the
to have
bad
stone
seed
and 4 animal
might be
hide.
born to be evil. We do have brain research right now for psychopaths that suggests there is a difference in their brain. That does not necessarily translate to all serial killers. And we don't really yet know particularly what that difference amounts to, whether it's causal, correlational, it's not clear. So the idea of, is it nature versus nurture or the bad seed, it's always a mix of all of them, because you could have a certain type of brain physiology that tends to be something we see in psychopaths or predators, and yet you were raised in a loving home with all kinds of advantages, and you did not become a serial killer. On the other hand, you might not have that brain physiology. You might even have all kinds of social advantages and economic advantages and still become a serial killer for other types of reasons. So you really can't say it's a bad seed. It certainly might be in the mix, but it's impossible to say how much is nature and how much is nurture for any given case.
It's also a myth that serial killers are crazy, that they don't know what they're doing.
Most serial killers are not insane.
What mission are you on for right now?
Psychiatric sense.
I'm just on a side mission right now.
They don't hear voices in an empty room.
I'm not really on the main hunt at all.
They don't suffer from a profound thought.
Why don't you do the main mission first and then start doing the side ones?
Well, because there's certain parts of the mission it's still not, I'm not high enough level to attempt to do.
Oh, okay. I got you.
It gives them that sense of superiority that they crave. Most of them are sociopaths, or psychopaths, if you prefer. They have a disorder of character and personality that doesn't qualify for the insanity test. But they lack a
Yeah, so I'm trying to do some of these side missions just so I can have a chance to be okay in the game.
when they do the wrong thing.
Gotta get you that way you can experience level can be a little high or something.
Yeah.
Which is kind of mouthful.
Because frankly, you being level 10, you ain't gonna do too good against a level 30 character.
Probably the best calculation came from Robert Hare, a Canadian, who talked about the fact that they don't want any empathy, and he's they don't, you know, it's easy for them to manipulate people. They see people as objects. They see people as ways to meet their own ends, whether they're going to kill them, whether they're going to climb beyond them to a higher step in industry. Not all sociopaths are serial killers. There's probably a number of sociopaths, although the business community might call them type A personalities.
Are you playing Dead by Daylight or something?
Yeah.
And got there because of their willingness to step over people and be very ruthless in how they got there. So it's in the context of a serial killer, he doesn't care what he does. He wants them to be easy. He wants them to be vulnerable because that adds to his thrill. He wants power over those people. He wants to be able to dominate them and control them for a period of time before he or she kills them.
similar to Ted Bundy. You're doing a Ted Bundy type. Since you're 35, the BC. The BC, Ted Bundy, Robert Hill, from Canada, developed this wonderful scale. It's 0 to 40 points. Most people are between 4 and 8. Occasional criminals are...
Man, ain't no way these killers move that damn fast, man.
And then you get sociopaths.
What killer are you fighting against?
Legion. So even if it's bigger ones or whatever, I mean, they still shoot that damn fast.
Like the clown?
Yeah.
The more psychopathy you have, the more psychopathic you are. That means the less attachment you have, the less confidence you have, the less emotional you're high on that scale. If you're a sociopath, you still have emotional attachment. You still have love. You commit a lot of crime. You still have social. Both of them are social, sociopaths, psychopaths. But the sociopaths are just average people like to tell you. They're not skillful. They still have understanding. They still love their own. They're impulsive. They don't make any mistakes. They have long histories of criminal behavior. When you look at psychopaths, they have less histories of criminal behavior. They don't have a conscience at all. The people of the lie. They lie when they don't have to lie.
Cool, I just tamed a rare black jaguar.
A lot of social skills to be able to con people.
Oh, really? How'd you get that?
I just ran across him.
You don't see a lot of those people in prison. You see a lot of sociopaths in prison, but not a lot of true psychopaths.
So, serial killers fall on the far end of the spectrum of behavioral disorders, as well as the far end of the spectrum of murderers. Murderers that defy explanation.
Serial killers, for all the books, all the documentaries and TV shows, I think it's a little understood crime. Until the last 20 years, the FBI believed that they were all sex crimes. But that's understandable. The people in the behavioral science unit were all 50-year-old men, and according to Freud, sex is their whole prison, their whole framework. It's been true for a long time. There are multiple causes of serial murder. You can't generalize across a population of serial killers because their motives are so different. Some believe they're ridding the world of bad people. Others want that power over somebody. They want to communicate or get attention. Some want revenge. Some have political or religious access to crime. So, in my perception, the multiplicity of serial killer motives kind of frustrates it and understand. And you can't be 155 and understand all of them. Because they're very different.
Two things that haven't changed in the study of serial killers are the concepts of modus operandi and signature.
MO, modus operandi, is what is necessary for a killer to complete the job, or any criminal for that matter. Okay, you go in through a broken window, you jimmy a door lock and you get in, okay? The modus operandi can change depending on the job and what's happening in the killer's mind. The signature is something that is not necessary to the completion of the crime. It's something that the killer does in his mind to help with the fantasy. The signature never changes, ever. For example, somebody breaks into a house, they tie a woman up, they take her money, they stab her a couple of times. He might have done that a number of times. But he might put some writing on the wall, or writing on the refrigerator. That's the signature. That never changes. So there's the difference.
For example, the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, always left an upside-down pentagram somewhere at the scene of the crime, sometimes on the body of the victim. It was always drawn with the victim's own lipstick, and was even drawn on the inner thighs of the victim who had been sexually assaulted before death. So why do serial killers kill? Why do some people fantasize about killing, but never go through with it? Sadly, there is no silver bullet answer.
We got two badger skins.
Why serial killers kill. Each case of serial killing has its own story to tell. Perhaps that is why the evil of serial killers has held us so firmly in its grip.
fuck, I don't have any. Damn, so I'm gonna have to look for 2 badgers the hard-fashioned way.
What you need to look for badges for?
To upgrade one of my buildings in this game. That's literally all I need, just 2 badger skins. Let's see what time it is.
It's like a 10:54.
It's only 10. I got a little bit of time to play before I need to go to bed.
What time you gotta be at work tomorrow?
8:30. 8:30 to 5:30 tomorrow, and the next day. Then I'm off Thursday.
Yeah, I gotta be at work at 9. But I work from 9 to 1. I'm still in training though.
Yeah.
And I'll be at 9 to 1 tomorrow, and then 11 to 7 Wednesday, and then off Thursday, and then I'll start my regular schedule Friday, which would be 7 to 3. And after that, I'll just be 7 to 3.
So are you basically doing the same thing all over again? Security like at a bank or something?
Not at a place like that. It's be at a warehouse. Yeah, more like a warehouse facility or whatever. It's called logistics warehouse or whatever. But yeah, so it's pretty much all I'll be freaking doing or whatever. So I'll see how it works out.
No, that's good. So does it pay the same or a little bit more?
A little bit less. Yeah, it's paying less where I was at, so I mean, I guess I had to just deal with where I'm at for now and try to find something better. Yeah.
There are these crimes that just shock the conscience, and so I fully understand why the public is preoccupied with them. I think they are so outside the box that we have this understandable need to try.
Bitch, please.
Why would somebody do that? That's human nature. Why would somebody take a rifle, sit behind a barricade, and wait for innocent victims? Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody look for vulnerable children, kidnap them, torture them sexually, and kill them? It's hard for us to wrap our minds around these kinds of crimes. And it makes complete sense to me that the average human being would be both fascinated by this, horrified by this, mystified by this, and preoccupied by this. Why?
Is that on TV or is you watching DVD or something?
It's on TV. I think it's Crackle or something.
Crack horror.
Gary Ridgway, also known as
I used to have Crackle download. I had uninstalled it. And I had my other PS4.
Of all time, confessed to 71 murders. His victims, sex workers, women with vulnerable lifestyles, even runaway teenage girls. Stephen professor of criminology, came up with the term for these vicious killers' victims.
Soon I'm going to deal with and try to explain the phenomenon of all or most of the victims of serial killers. According to the database that my wife and I have developed, at least 75% of the victims we can find within the last 105, 110 years would classify as less dead. And by less dead, they were less alive. In other words, they're marginalized people in society. They're throwaways. People don't care about them. they're prostitutes, they're women out by themselves, they're, say, elderly women out by themselves, they're hospital patients who are helpless. They're young kids who are relatives. People just consider them as below society. They don't want to see them. And of course, when they're gone, they don't see them. The other way to put it is the best commonality that I can come up with for a serial killer is that he or she, in most cases, will attack a vulnerable victim.
There's people that society values more for whatever reason, and that mere fact is part of what allows these killers to get to the victims that they want and to get away with doing what they want for as long as they do.
No case better illustrates this point than the case of the Green River Killer. Gary Leon Ridgway was born on February 18th, 1949, in Salt Lake City, Utah. Raised near Seattle's Pacific Highway in a rundown neighborhood near SeaTac Airport, Ridgway was a poor student. After high school, he was sent to Vietnam. When he returned, he got a job painting trucks, which he kept for 30 years. Though he married 3 times and was fanatical about religion, Ridgway was a frequent customer of prostitutes. Prostitutes he brought to his home, strangled, then left their bodies in woodsy, remote sites.
Ooh, the Rise of Skywalker's on Disney Plus.
Green River Kill began on July 15th, 1982, after the body of Opal Charlene Mills was discovered on the banks of the Green River, a quiet little stream south of Seattle, Washington. It was along the secluded banks of this river the Green River Killer disposed of his victims. His M.O. was simple.
The Green River Killer is a repeat of a very common thread in serial murder in that the overwhelming majority, if not all of his victims, were prostitutes. He took them from a place in the urban environment where they were picked up out into the country. He dumped their bodies often in the same location, multiple victims in the same location. Because of, he evaded discovery of forensic evidence by, depositing the bodies in places where they weren't immediately discovered, or where time would allow, animal degradation and the decomposition of the victim, or he put them in water so that, potential evidence could be washed away.
As the bodies piled up, more than 50 in less than 10 years, and no evidence could be found, Seattle police hoped profiling would help them put away their killer.
Profiles are tools. What the public doesn't understand is a profile provides a tool to narrow the possible group of suspects. Because frequently in a serial murder investigation, who are your suspects? Everyone. If you can look at the crime scene, look at the victim, look at all the information the police have gathered, and come up with a type of person you think may have committed this crime, which is really what a profile is, then you have narrowed their group of suspects to a manageable number as opposed to everyone.
The FBI originally...
How come it's like when you don't need the something, you can find the some bitches everywhere, but as soon as you need them, you can't find them?
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for 2 badgers so I can kill them and get their pelts to upgrade my hut for something better, but every time I never need the fuckers, they're around. But as soon as I need them, I can't find one.
It is often used as a last resort in the most difficult cases of all. But it doesn't always work. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it leads to irrelevant information and can even mislead.
The real advances in serial killer capture turn out to be meticulous crime scene investigation and advances in forensic science, particularly the use of DNA. The
changes that I've seen in forensic science are absolutely astounding. Back in the day, we used to collect blood at a scene and hopefully be able to type it and maybe come up with a killer's blood type.
Yeah, I got a mammoth.
It didn't really tell us who the killer was. We had something to match it to, and it would be inconsistent with, but it wouldn't necessarily tell us who the killer was. Or you would have saliva or other bodily fluids left in the scene where you could determine if that person was a secretor or a non-secretor. Again, you can eliminate about a third of the population, and it still doesn't tell you who your suspect is. Now, especially with the advent of computers and the technology in DNA, those two things have vaulted us into the 21st, 22nd, 23rd century because of the things that we're able to do.
Fuck!
Especially with DNA, as technology is changing each day, they're able to amplify DNA more so that I've been able to get DNA, not me personally, but a lab that I use has been able to get DNA from bones that have been buried for 52 years, 53 years. They were able to get DNA from those bones, and not only get DNA, but to develop a profile from it. And so they're able to take that profile and enter it into a database so that if a maternal relative of that person is ever located and their DNA entered, it'll come up as a hit on that. So DNA is probably one of the biggest things that we rely on. One of the other things that's really coming along with DNA also is what's called touch DNA. And we're starting to do this more at property crime scenes, not just where there's blood or bodily fluids or anything like that. If you have fingerprints at a crime scene, you probably have DNA. And so you can take a photograph of that fingerprint and then swab that fingerprint and submit that to the lab and develop a DNA profile just from that fingerprint.
In many ways, the future started with the Green River Killer case. DNA evidence proved the Seattle police case against Gary Leon Ridgway, the man they had for years suspected, but could not nail for the murders.
Well, signature in the Green River case was not really as important as DNA. As it turned out, as some suspected, including the profiler, Ridgway returned to his crime scenes fairly often. And in most instances, had sex with corpses, in other words, he was an epithelia. Almost all of his victims.
Ridgway eluded the law until 2001, when newly developed DNA testing technology produced a match between evidence collected from the victims and Ridgway. He escaped execution in return for showing where he dumped some of his victims' bodies.
I watched Ridgway. I watched his confession. And he wrote to talk about it. He didn't mind going to prison for being a murderer. But when he got to the part of why he did it, he didn't want to talk about that. Because that meant that he had to talk about the fact that he was a necrophile. And he said, I'm not getting into that at all. I believe there's such a thing as a victim pool. And the serial killer tries to access that victim pool as often as he can. So the victim pool means he might prefer blonde women and blondes. That's his victim pool. He very, very seldom ever deviates from it. He might like hitchhikers. He might like children. There was a serial killer in the Midwest, in Minneapolis and the Dakotas, who killed developmentally disabled people living in the wilderness. That was his victim pool. That's what he wanted to be around, so we got jobs in those kind of homes, so we have access to victims of his choice.
For Floyd Tapson, those were his easy, helpless female victims.
Serial killers target mostly prostitutes, hitchhikers, runaways, drug addicts, street children. It's the victims that are easily accessed. They don't cause a stir. They're not investigated quite rapidly because no one even knows they're gone. So, yeah, that's the best thing that...
Did you find those badgers yet?
No, I've not found those badgers. They are.
There are a fair number of gay killers who bring
They gotta be somewhere.
home on pretense.
Yeah, somewhere.
Of course, Dahmer brought them back on pretense, paid them for...
You know, at this point, I should realize, you know, if I see him, I should kill him. Cause you never know when you might need
generally pick up
them.
gay prostitutes on the streets. They're more involved, a bit more involved in the victims than, say, someone who would pick up a prostitute just on the street or without a stranger they don't know. They want to get more involved with the victim. Certainly Diamond wanted to get very involved with his victim. He wanted to stick around forever. So it's a bit different in terms of the gay crimes.
That just gotta be somewhere in that forest, man.
Two gay serial killers broke this mold, did not get to know their victims, did not spend so-called normal time with them, as did Chicago's John Wayne Gacy and Milwaukee's Jeffrey Dahmer. They were
that show was stupid.
Which one?
Randy Kraft,
Ragnarok.
also known as the Highway Killers.
Yeah.
That show's on Netflix.
Each serial murderer has their own,
I was saying the Thor one.
psychological need to kill.
Yeah, well, you would say, but Thor's not in it.
Yeah,
That's
I know
the
what
thing
you're talking about.
It's stupid, man. I don't know why Netflix even made that one.
Here's a man who, by all accounts, drove incessantly.
Especially to call it that, and this don't really have much to do with what was going on.
Miles on the highways. For a person like this,
And I was so disappointed in it.
the difference in time between his crimes had less to do with being sated sexually or psychologically, and more to do with opportunity. His eyes were open as he drove around for the opportunity to pick up a hitchhiking boy who killed young men. His desire was there pretty much continually, but he knew that there were only certain circumstances that he could control, and until those circumstances were in place, he would just keep driving.
In this way, Randy Kraft was
The Green Hornet.
serial killer. Unsuspecting hitchhikers along the coastal highways in California and Oregon were Randy Kraft's victims.
Randy Kraft, for example, was homosexual. And they're pretty extremely sadistic homosexual murderers. Was that they're worse than people who are straight? No, not worse. Sometimes they do it differently. Obviously, sadism involved. They're often cut the body parts, and not always. We see that. In case they would cut off the penis of the victim and cut off their heads and put it down their esophagus and things like that.
Kraft was born in California in 1945. As a kid, he was bright, with an IQ over 130. He was admitted to the prestigious Claremont College, where he joined the ROTC and was an enthusiastic supporter of Barry Goldwater in 1964. He graduated in 1968, but by this time, he was leading the gay life and becoming addicted to drugs. Indications are that he needed drugs, booze, needed to be high to do his killing. In 1969, Randy Kraft joined the Air Force. However, he was discharged 1 year later, and as a civilian, resumed his gay bar-hopping life. Then, at the age of 26 in 1971, Randy Kraft claimed his first victim, a 30-year-old gay bartender. There were several trademarks.
Gay bartender.
The victims were frequently burned on their left nipple with an automotive cigarette lighter. Some of them had their left testicle cut out while they were alive. Some had objects
The left testicle cut out. Only a fag would do that.
And of course, the use of drugs was common. Usually Valium ingested without warning.
What are you gonna do with the left testicle?
The murders were truly horrific. In one instance, the victim's eyelids were cut off to prevent him from closing his eyes during the torture. For the next 12 years, Kraft's need to kill and torture was insatiable.
His MO was to pick up, like, perhaps a young Marine off on a weekend, and he would offer them, you know, hey, I have some beers. You want a beer? Hey, I have some pot. How about some drugs? Do you want to do some drugs? He would either spike the beer with Valium or other tranquilizers, or he would just offer them as a means to continue the party. Once he had control of his victim, you know, sometimes the victims were tortured to an extreme degree, emasculated,
I was reading
and
something.
he would then just dump the bodies out on the highway. He made very little effort, if any effort, to hide most of his victims, and would just dump them out on the side of the road as he drove. Just yet another indignity to perform. What's interesting about Kraft is that the police knew for a long time that they had more than one.
From 1971 to 1978, dead men and boys were regularly found dumped along California's highways. Then, in 1979, there was a sudden explosion of dead male bodies beside the Los Angeles freeways. These were obviously the work of a homosexual serial killer. But the way these men were killed did not fit with the other mutilated bodies found earlier. This new frenzy of highway serial killer was the work of William Bonin, California's second highway homosexual serial killer. 2 years younger than Randy Kraft, he was born and raised in Connecticut. With a drunkard father and a frail mother, he ended up spending much of his time with his grandfather, a convicted child molester. Soon, William Bonin was doing this himself.
Badger, 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 badger.
He joined the military and distinguished himself in the Vietnam War. Returning home in 1969 at the age of 23, he resumed molesting young boys, for which he was arrested. By 1979, he was back on the streets, living in LA. Resuming his molesting, he told a friend that he would never go to prison again because he would never leave a witness. But the next year, he raped and killed an estimated 40 young men and boys. Put under surveillance by the police, he was arrested for molesting a 15-year-old boy. Once in custody, he confessed to abducting, raping, and killing 21 young boys.
Golly, 21.
For most people and the press, the capture of William Bonin heralded the end of the highway killings. But when the murders continued, the public was baffled. However, the police knew all along that there had been 2 killers. As is often the case, Randy Kraft was caught by dumb luck.
They had a task force in place for many, many years looking for Mr. Kraft and were unable to do so. But one night on a lonely stretch of highway, a couple of highway patrolmen saw a car weaving around. They pulled him over. The driver got out of the car and came back to them, which is, I think, a red flag for the police to think that there might be something going on in the car that the driver doesn't want them to know about. There was a young man in the front seat of the car who appeared asleep, but he wasn't asleep. He was dead. And not only was there a dead young man in his car, there were photographs of other young men who had turned up on the side of the road in the recent past in there. And perhaps most chilling, a list of, I believe, 60-some little memory triggers for him. Little 1 or 2 or 3 word descriptions of various killings that he performed on this piece of paper. So he was convicted, I believe, of 11 murders, but the notion is that his list contained 60-plus entries and was perhaps even then not complete.
Randy Kraft and William Bond were two of the most prolific serial killers of all time. With these two cases and their combined body count of over 100, law enforcement got a better understanding of the difference between a serial killer's MO, his modus operandi, and his signature, his perverted psychological need. William Bonin and Randy Kraft had the same MO, but different signatures. One got psychological gratification from raping and killing. The other got gratification from killing and mutilating. But their MOs were the same. Targeting hitchhikers from a car, and then dumping the bodies along the highway. So the largest subset of victims in the serial killer victim pool is made up of the less dead, followed by easy prey, such as folks in a hospital or nursing home. But sometimes it is a specific characteristic an unsuspecting victim might possess. Ted Bundy liked brunette women with blue eyes who resembled a girlfriend. Sometimes victims are
That's amazing how some people like that got their minds to do shit like that.
5 poets at the University of Florida, all victims of the Gainesville Ripper. Danny Rolling. Danny Rolling was born in 1954 in Shreveport, Louisiana. His father, James, a police officer, often abused him, his mother, and younger brother, Kevin. In 1990, Danny left Louisiana, but not before killing 3 people, the signature of mutilation that would become his trademark of killing. And when he killed again in Florida, he fit the definition of a serial killer. Allusions to serial murderer Ted Bundy were inevitable. The Washington-born killer had murdered co-eds at Florida State University in Tallahassee in 1976. But the slaughter of the Gainesville victims was more like Jack the Ripper. Like the London Ripper, death had not been enough for Danny Rolling.
Danny Rolling, who killed 5 college students at the University of Florida in 1990, would excise the nipples of his female victims and carry them off in a little plastic bag to enjoy himself with later on.
Golly,
Never
really?
showing any remorse for his heinous crimes, Danny Rolling, a true psychopath, was put to death by lethal injection on October 25th, 2006.
Lethal injection.
The Beltway snipers, John Allen Mahoney and Lee Boyd Malvo, who randomly killed 17 innocent victims in 2002, chose victims randomly, the Zodiac Killer, still at large today, who took the lives of at least 5 unsuspecting young victims in the San Francisco Bay Area, and the son of Sam, David Richard Berkowitz, who shot 6 unsuspecting victims in the summer of 1977, and Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker,
Richard Ramirez.
ordinary people like you who thought they were safe in their homes. So, just because you do not meet the stereotypical serial killer victim pool, never think you're entirely safe. In all these cases, the media played a role. Right after World War II, American news media, particularly television, focused its bright lights on the serial killer phenomenon. Case in point, the 1946 lipstick killer, William Herons. The press has always given serial killers AKAs, or nicknames, denoting the gruesomeness of their crimes. At the turn of the 20th century, it was Jack the Ripper, H.H. Holmes, the Doctor of Death, Jane Topper, the Angel of Death. Then, in the 1920s, came the Brooklyn vampire, Albert Fish. It's as if these mad killers possessed an alter ego, a split personality, a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This idea would play a role in the defense of William Herons. William Herons was different from earlier serial killers. Born in 1929, he grew up in an affluent Chicago family and started his killing at an early age, as a teenager.
The lipstick killer. He would, after killing a female victim, go into her bathroom, take her lipstick, and scrawl, "Touch me before I kill again." He apparently felt guilty and wanted to get apprehended.
By the age of 13,
Did you find those badges yet?
had become a strange boy.
Did you find the badges yet?
He took
Fuck no.
crime, burglary, and cross-dressing.
And where you go on the map they're not necessary there either.
1945, Herons was looting the Chicago apartment of Josephine Ross when his victim woke and caught him in the act. Attacking ruthlessly, he cut her throat and stabbed her several times. Later, he said, "I wandered aimlessly from room to room, enjoying multiple orgasms." 5 months later, 33-year-old Frances Brown emerged from her bathroom to find Herons rifling through her purse. As she began to scream, he shot her twice and then fetched a kitchen knife to finish off the job. Dragging his victim into the bathroom, Herons tried in vain to wash her blood away, then left her draped across the tub, half covered with a housecoat.
Something, that rain must be messing up this fucking internet, because I've been on Netflix trying to load this movie up and it won't even play.
I cannot control myself. A month later, on January 7th, 1946, he invaded the bed of 6-year-old Suzanne Degler, abducted the child, and leaving a written demand for $20,000 ransom as a ruse to baffle the police. Retreating to a nearby basement, Herons murdered the child and dismembered her remains with a hunting knife. 6 months later, the 17-year-old Herons was caught attempting another murder, confessed to killing the 3 women. Except, Herons claimed that it was not actually he who killed them. It was his altered personality, George Merman, short for Murder Man, who killed those women. As the youngest serial killer ever incarcerated, young William Herons spent the rest of his long life in jail.
Doesn't step around pumps and wet shoes. Those cheap leaky diapers. Because with Love's, you get the pro-level leak protection you're looking for.
Alright, well, I don't think I'm going to this. Alright, guys, this is Cry Primal Bitch. I'm going to sign out for a bit. See you guys back up tomorrow. On this, I'll do some more games. I'll definitely try to hop on some Dead by Daylight tomorrow. For everyone.
Yeah, hopefully you're up to it.
Yeah, a lot of it was, I was just trying to expand my broadcast a little bit more, different stuff.
No, I understand.
I don't think Ken really understands too much.
No, I know what you're trying to do. I know exactly what you're trying to do.
I mean, I'll probably never get famous now, but you know.
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, you gotta start from somewhere. I mean, you know what you want to do. I mean, you ain't gotta break off because somebody wants you to do it.
Yeah. I just know people who watch your stuff, they want to see different stuff. They just don't want you to see you play the same game over and over again.
Yeah.
Because frankly, all it is the same killers and over and over. The only difference is you might survive the match or you may not.
Well, it's the same concept. So I mean, like you said, yeah, you don't want to keep playing the same game every day, and then nobody's not gonna want to, you know, tell other people about your YouTube page or want to watch it because you're playing the same thing every day. And I get what you're saying.
Yeah, for example, me playing, people say, yeah, go to Chris Medine Camp, and that's what he's playing. They can just look that he plays a little bit of everything.
I know what you're trying to do, man. Like I say, no problem with me. I mean, if you don't play, you don't play. I mean, I love playing with you all the time and shit. And I mean, even if we don't play the same thing, we can still be in chat party.
Yeah. I know I just gotta go and work tomorrow and the next day, then I'm off Thursday.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I only get the 1-for-1 day off Thursday.
Skewed towards certain type of killers.
Well,
So
not everybody's granted that.
Then tend to think of serial killers along those types.
No, I'm about to try to save up 2 of my paychecks and take off 2 weeks for this coronavirus.
Do you got any vacation days?
Huh?
Do you got any vacation days?
I do, but the cool thing about Walmart is, because of the whole virus thing, if you don't feel safe, they will grandly give you 2 weeks off without you even have to use your points for it.
Yeah, but you won't get paid though. That's the thing about
it. That is the only downfall.
Yeah, I can't do something like that. I mean, I probably wouldn't have minded, but at the same time, I mean, just knowing that, you know, you won't be getting paid for it. I mean, most companies will pay you, and some won't, but that's a little bit too much. I mean, it'd be nice that, you know, you can get paid and shit.
Anthony Edward Sowell is an American serial killer known as the Cleveland Strangler. He was arrested in
It's an Egon Spengler.
2009 after the bodies
I just heard a badger.
of women were discovered by police investigators at his Cleveland, Ohio duplex.
I hope you will.
In 2011,
I swear I thought I heard one.
was charged with 11 counts of
You little bastard, where are you?
74 counts, rape,
I have an idea.
tampering with evidence, and abuse of a corpse. He sits on death row.
Did anyone cover the legal proceedings?
Okay, nothing seemed interested in my bait.
There's very little known about him, aside from the initial headlines. I think he should qualify in every way like Jeffrey Dahmer did, but he doesn't. So lots of some of the doctors are accurate, but I've definitely had media people
That's one.
who wanted to believe certain myths. And so if I didn't say something to them about that confirmed those myths, I'm and the myths continue.
You also can't deny the role of the media. Now, I'm not a big believer in, hey, you watch a serial killer crime on TV, you go commit one. I don't necessarily believe there's a causal relationship there. Maybe in some cases.
Come here, buddy.
But more than that, I think what it does is it distributes the notion. Maybe you're a mixed up person with a lot of hatred and a lot of negative feelings, and you've been casting about it and expressing it in a lot of different ways. But then you watch a crime drama where somebody commits some sort of act and you yourself derive some satisfaction vicariously experiencing the act they committed. Maybe that makes you more likely to go and try and commit the act. Perhaps by reading about serial murder, by seeing it on TV, you develop a fantasy that, let's face it, I think the centerpiece of a lot of this crime is fantasy fulfillment. You think about it, you think about it, you think about it, you think about it, you live it, you live it, you live it, and suddenly the thing that was purely imagination, you desire to see that fleshed out in reality.
Once serial killing became known, once it saturated the American family and home, the fantasy became a reality for some people.
Sometimes this steady drip, drip, drip exposure to violence in movies and television may increase the likelihood because there's this sense of familiar. And when things are familiar, sometimes we imitate, sometimes we're influenced by that. But if one has seen this kind of footage for years and years and years, there may not be anybody out there saying, go kill the person you don't like. But in that person's psyche,
you found that battery?
Well, I found one, and you found one more. So
there's got to be another one somewhere. You found that one.
The trick with a badger is to try here for a little sound it makes.
To somebody with violent instincts, you have permission to kill.
Cause they make like a little screeching heckle sound.
Belongs to two men who were health workers, Charles Cullen and Donald Harvey. Harvey, the self-described original angel of death, was born in Ohio in 1952. Harvey's killing spree, moving from hospital to hospital in that state, lasted 17 years, 1970 to 1987.
17 years, shit.
He promised never to tell them because if he did, they promised to hurt his mother. That was never going to happen, but he didn't know that. He was just a little boy. And so he never told, kept a secret. And he was a good student, but he became suicidal after he graduated from high school. He joined the military, and was suicidal there. Then discharged from the military. He, I think, figured things out that he wasn't going to kill himself. He got a job working in a hospital as an orderly. And over the course of the next several years, in 3 different hospitals, he killed 57 men. And they were all at the same age as the men who had been abusing him. He couldn't kill them. I think one had already died, but he had the power to kill them. He had the power to kill these men. So these are proxy murders. And he would put cyanide in them. In fact, his last murder, he used enough cyanide to kill an entire army. It was amazing how cyanide did it. He was a little sadistic at times because he did use, in one case, for this elderly man, couldn't fight back. He had a catheter and he took a coat hanger and put it through the catheter, which was bled several times. It was very, very painful. But I think for the most part it was he would give them large amounts of cyanide. And it killed them pretty quickly. And he pleaded guilty, no death penalty.
In 2017, Harvey was beaten to death in his prison cell. A year after Harvey's last victim died, along came Charles Cullen, his first victim, in a New Jersey hospital.
Cullen has admitted to 29 murders and 6 attempted murders. Officials in this case believe there are many more to which he has not admitted. He made a deal to give up all his victims in exchange for no death penalty. He was caught yaping in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I think there were 10 different institutions in 16 years where he killed. So he was a pretty prolific healthcare serial killer. He admired Donald Harvey, who was another very even more prolific healthcare serial killer nurse. And so mostly he used medications. He took advantage of medications not being accounted for, computer systems, sometimes he would just take them and dump them in the wastebasket just because, just to see, they're not watching news. And he's given a long confession where he talks about, here's how you thwart someone like me. But even when they got computerized, he figured out how to manipulate the computer system so that it would simulate he had taken a medication out and then put it back, although he hadn't. And then he would use some toxic medication on a patient for whom that should have never been used. And it was actually someone in Poison Control Center who called the hospital where he finally was arrested and said, you have a serial killer there. And they said, no, we don't. And it went on for months before they finally stopped him.
Over his 16-year nursing career, Cullen, like his idol Donald Harvey, killed many patients who would not have died otherwise. This copycat serial killer makes it clear that any one of us can be at risk of a serial murderer.
Death on the last battle.
Trying to find him.
Serial murderers are often spurred by the myths of the media, movies, television, and true crime print. More and more serial murderers want to create their own public legacy, as the media creates anti-hero status for these monsters while forgetting about the victims.
One thing about serial murder that strikes me is that there's a preponderance, there's just a plethora of ways to kill, of motivations. They can be political, religious. We have the traditional sex and power and greed. We have, in my case, communication. I did a study of 1,000 serial killers, and I found that
Come here, you little bastard. I know you're around here.
before, during, and after the crimes. And its purpose was communication. Things like the Mansons writing in the walls, writing on walls with blood, people carving words and images into people's bodies. So I think the communication is a major, the need to communicate is a major.
Is there an easy way that where you can call them out or get them to come to you or something?
If they're near you, you could try to throw bait out to them, but you still have to hear for them.
Which kind of very bluntly puts that thesis. Many killers are motivated by their media coverage. And while the crimes are ongoing, they eagerly and zealously pursue newspaper articles, magazine articles, and electronic message accounts of the crimes.
Perhaps the most famous case of a serial killer using the media as part of his heinous murders is the case
Don't turn around.
Everybody who becomes interested in the subject of serial killers sort of finds one or another that fascinates them maybe the most. And I think for me, it's got to be the Zodiac killer. And the fact that he wasn't apprehended obviously plays into it. But I think even more than that, the letters to the police, how the distance that he had. He was obvious with Zodiac. The killing was his aim. He killed people in cars, he killed couples, obviously, against young couples. And there's some psychology, I'm sure. There's some psychology in Zodiac, I'm sure this plays into that. But also the outfit. On that one murder that he committed by that lake near San Francisco, one of the victims survived to tell the tale of this bizarre outfit that he wore with like a squared off bag on his head and the Zodiac symbol on his chest. That to me adds a level of fascination to the crime simply because this is a person whose fantasy life was being led to such an extreme degree that they actually produced a uniform for themselves. That's unique.
Since the Zodiac killer was never caught, there are no prisoners. No childhood stories to analyze. Only handwritten letters and postcards and his infamous Zodiac costume. Many have called him the perfect serial killer. The first group to die was a teenage couple, David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, shot dead on December 20th, 1968. They were followed 6 months later with another shooting. Michael Mager, 19, and Brian 22.
Starting hungry, man.
Shot 4 times, survived. Now,
Yeah, I know I got started. You know, like I said, getting used to waking up early or whatever, but I don't know if I can.
The Zodiac loved killing. The power of controlling life and death. The Zodiac had seen how in his own twisted way glorified the killings by the Manson family. He was becoming the first serial killer to kill for killing's sake. Then, he skillfully used the press to exalt his supposed godlike power.
If they can't torture, they can at least play a cat and mouse game with the police, taunting them with cryptic clues, feeling superior to law enforcement. That, too, gives them a sense of power. And finally, if everything else fails, they can at least terrify the community and become big shot celebrities. Making the front page, the headlines, the 11 o'clock news. Everybody knows who they are now, even if it's only anonymously. They have determined our agenda, and that makes them feel really good about themselves.
Now the killer began sending a series of chilling communications to the press. Each signed with the astrological symbol of the Zodiac. The letters were encoded and contained a line of cipher, decoded by 2 local high school teachers. The message read,
"I will be reborn in paradise, and all those I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name, because you'll try to slow or stop my collecting slaves for my afterlife."
Panic spread throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. The Zodiac, as he was now called, would kill again on September 29th, 1969. On that fateful afternoon, college students Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were relaxing along the shore of the Napa Valley Lake. According to Brian, Cecilia noticed a man lingering in the shade of some trees nearby. Suddenly, he appeared wearing a black coat with eye slits and the Zodiac symbol painted on it. The assailant held the frightened students at gunpoint.
You had him at gunpoint.
Brian and Cecilia were bound with clothesline.
Why don't you hold him at gun for, Chris?
And, just as they thought the ordeal was about to end, the Zodiac killer set upon them with a foot-long knife. When the savage attack was over, the stranger simply walked away and left his victims in agony. To prove he was responsible for this gory act, he inscribed the Zodiac symbol on the victim's car, and once again reported his crime and its location to the police. Cecilia Shepard was conscious when the cops arrived and gave a detailed description of the attacker. Shepard lapsed into a coma during transport to the hospital and never regained consciousness. She died 2 days later. But Hartnell survived to recount his tale to the press. The Zodiac's next and last confirmed kill was a cab driver. On October 11, 1969, Paul Stein met his maker.
He killed a taxi cab driver, and it very well may be that the only reason that taxi driver was killed was just so he would have another opportunity to taunt the police. He paused after killing this person to rip a piece of their shirt off, simply so he would be able to send it into the police and have a way of identifying, yes, I really am the killer of these people.
Zodiac would continue to taunt police and manipulate the press for years. A 340-symbol cipher, mailed November 8, 1969, remains unsolved. But there were no more confirmed killings. Although many were suspected before and after the 5 he killed and the 2 he wounded, the Zodiac would never be identified. He would become the most famous never-captured serial killer after Jack the Ripper, and perhaps is still alive today. American culture and its urban settings, streets of prostitution, homeless and lost people, will continue providing the victim pool for serial killers. And the media, with its insatiable demand for true crime, books, movies, television, will continue telling brutal stories of American serial killers.
Man, this coronavirus shit gonna be going on for a long ass time, man.
Yeah, frankly, it's pretty fucking old. I'm tired of hearing it myself.
Well, it's gonna be going on for a long time, man. It don't seem like this getting no better. I mean, they're talking about reopening up some of these stores, but they're only doing that because they missing out on money, but they're getting permission from the governor to do so. But why would you want to risk on doing that? Because now, if they do go ahead and do all to do it, ain't nobody gonna be going to the stores now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
George Hardy, Juan David Franklin, Albert Fish, Harvey Murray Blackman, Clifford Robert Olson Jr., James D'Angelo, Sheila LaBar, Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer. Ordinary names, but for serial killers, ordinary names are never good enough. We have to give them names that capture their dark souls, names that capture the evil they have become, capture the rare unthinkable. The lipstick killer, the grim sleeper, the Brooklyn vampire, the lonely hearts killer, the beast of British Columbia, the Golden State Killer, the Avenging Angel, the Milwaukee Cannibal.
When we hear about somebody who moves from community to community,
Perfect now.
who to kill next, which prostitute to get,
Okay, I got that part taken care of now.
Conscience, because they are so out of the ordinary, they are so different from what, sadly, we've become quite used to. The more ordinary rape, the more ordinary assault, the more ordinary robbery, the more ordinary kidnapping. There are these crimes that just shock the conscience, and so I fully understand why the public is preoccupied with them. I think they are so outside the box that we have this understandable need to try to grasp. Why would somebody do that?
Did you find that shit?
Well, I didn't find the badger, but I did find one animal I did need to make a bear armor gear.
A barricade and wait for innocent victims. Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody look for vulnerable children, kidnap them, torture them sexually, and kill them? It's hard for us to wrap our minds around these kinds of crimes. The average human being would be both fascinated by this, horrified by this, mystified by this.
Oh, fuck!
Why?
At the turn of the 20th century, America was on the move. It was changing from a country of farmers and small towns into a nation of growing urban centers. First, railroads, then cars made it possible for people to crisscross the nation. Immigrants poured in from across Europe. Many argue that this transformation turned the country into an industrial
I'm gonna jump off here myself, man. I'm gonna use the bathroom before I watch a little TV before I pass out too as well.
But it also created the perfect killing fields for serial murderers. Killing fields because their neighbors were anymore.
Cause I gotta be up in the morning too as well.
Exploded with people who
Like the trim and stuff, but other than that, yeah, I'll be on later though, man.
Because serial killers would move from one law enforcement jurisdiction
I'll holler later.
and nobody would realize they had a heinous murderer in their
No problem, man.
I think the larger society
Fuck!
in the sense that we don't need to support each other as well. People who murder just as small we have no monopoly of serial murder in the United States, but we've kind of cornered the market. It isn't poverty that breeds serial killing. It is a breakdown in community. If you look carefully at where most of the serial killings have occurred, they're in places where there are lots of strangers, where there's no sense of community, where hundreds of thousands of people have relocated for the sake of a job, as a new beginning or maybe a last resort. And when they arrive in California or Alaska or New York State or Illinois or Florida or Texas, they have no support systems. They don't have their friends and family to get them through tough times. They have nobody around who says, look, Jimmy, you can make it. We'll help you get another job. We'll encourage you. We'll support you. Wherever you find lots of strangers, you find lots of serial murder.
No one serial killer took greater advantage of these changing social times and implanted in the imagination of the whole country the evil of the serial killer better than the murderous H.H. Holmes. He was born into a wealthy and respected New Hampshire family and given the name Herman Webster Mudgett. But as a boy, he was constantly bullied. And then came a day when the bullying went too far. His taunters took him to a doctor's office.
Hello, Buzzy.
There, they put the lifeless, bony fingers of a human skeleton upon his face. Far from being horrified, Herman found the experience fascinating, even thrilling. There.
Alright, everybody, this is going to be Cringe on Bitch signing out for today. Hope you enjoyed what I did. I will catch you on the flip side.
Look at their own personal histories. What you find is sometimes torture as children. And ultimately murder of another human being. It is very common to find that perpetrators of serial murder themselves were subjected to horrific abuse as children.
At the age of 18, Herman married Clara Levering, the daughter of a rich local farmer. 1 year later, Herman left rural New Hampshire to attend the University of Michigan Medical School. There, he saw opportunities in hospital wards and dissection rooms to gain access to corpses for his insurance scams. It was here he gave himself his own nickname, Dr. Henry Howard Holmes, H.H. Holmes. His insurance scams were brilliant. Holmes stole cadavers from medical laboratories, disfigured them, planted them where they would be found as accidents, and then claimed they were relatives of the one and only H.H. Holmes. Having previously taken out insurance policies on these fictitious family members, he collected a tidy sum. One in excess of $12,000. At this point, it was fortunate for Clara that she and her infant son returned to New Hampshire and never saw Holmes again. Just as suddenly, Holmes dropped out of sight. He turned up briefly in St. Paul and New York. Then, in 1985, at the age of 25, posing as an inventor, Holmes resurfaced in Chicago's suburban town of Wilmette. Though he had not divorced his first wife, he was now married to Myrtle Z. Bellman, the daughter of a wealthy businessman. A man Holmes had unsuccessfully tried to swindle and kill. It is unknown how many people Holmes may have killed between Michigan and Chicago. Maybe none. Maybe many.
I think the likelihood of Holmes having murdered additional people between his college experience and the beginning of his activities surrounding the World's Fair in Chicago, I think is very high. We're talking about a person who, by the time he came to Chicago, had an elaborate fantasy that he was able to execute in an incredibly complicated and full-blown fashion. It strikes me that that kind of fantasy and the ability to execute that fantasy probably didn't spring into being all complete in Chicago. I think that it's probably very likely that he had additional experiences with murder in between college and the time he came to Chicago.
Holmes' first known killer was a Mrs. E.S. Holden. In 1887, H.H. Holmes began working as an assistant in a local drugstore in Chicago, run by Mrs. E.S. Holden. An older woman who could not handle the trade any longer, she needed assistance. It was not long before Holmes seemed to be more the manager of the store and less the prescription clerk. In 1887, Mrs. E.S. Holden vanished without a trace. A short time after, Holmes announced that he had purchased the store from the widow, just prior to her moving out west. Now Holmes had a fabulous source of income. Then, at age 29, H.H. Holmes was about to blossom into America's most prolific and fiendish serial killer. Wealthy beyond his wildest dreams, Holmes concocted a killing scheme that would change the face of horror forever. He bought a lot across from his drugstore and built what has become known as the Castle of Horrors, also known as the Murder Castle. Cunning as well as murderous, Holmes designed his three-story house of horrors to appear from the outside like any ordinary commercial building. Shops and his new drugstore occupied the bottom floor. But the upper two floors were a bizarre maze of torture rooms and execution chambers. Some rooms were windowless chambers with doors that could be opened only from the outside. Soundproofed rooms outfitted with gas lines allowed Holmes to hear the screams of his victims as they suffocated. It was a strange building with halls at odd angles and stairways that went nowhere. But the most foolish construction was the basement. Here was a dissecting room for stripping the flesh of his victims and making skeletons for medical service. It also had 2 giant furnaces for cremated bodies. Holmes' House of Horrors would later become a staple of Hollywood and the Halloween haunted house. By 1892, Holmes' murder was complete. America's greatest serial killing spree was about to commence. At first, he advertised lodging to attract victims. Next, he put ads in small-town newspapers promising employment, particularly for young women. When they arrived, he took their money and they disappeared. But this was simply a lead-up to the stream of disaster by Chicago in 1890. The fair was to architecture and the arts. And at the same time, it highlighted firsts that were to become the hallmark of United States history and production. These fairs were including enchilada pancakes, Quaker oats, cream of wheat, Davy the highlight of all these firsts is the dazzling technological breakthrough by Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse when they introduced the entire lighting up the world's favorite. But with all the innovation, there also came a darker side to the fair's firsts. Murder. Murder most foul. Murder without remorse. Next to the fair stood H.H. Holmes' House of Horrors, the first building ever constructed for the sole purpose of serial killing. For 6 months, a reeling mass of humanity jammed the fair grounds. Thousands of these carefree fairgoers would go missing.
How many fell prey to Holmes's house horrors will never be known. When the Chicago Fair closed in October of 1893, Holmes decided to leave the Windy City. That's when Holmes got sloppy. He teamed up with two other con men, Benjamin Peitzel and Marion Hedgepeth, for another scam, this time in Philadelphia, and Holmes killed Peitzel. He was tracked down by a Philadelphia detective, eventually leading to a raid of Holmes' murder castle in Chicago. Here, police uncovered a macabre disassembly plant for human bodies. It was here that Holmes dissected his victims, stripped the flesh of powerful acids, and then sold their skeletons to medical schools across the country. Those he didn't dissect were burned in two furnaces he had specially constructed for that purpose. Or they were cast into lime pits. The total number of victims will never be known, but evidence pointed to hundreds murdered. Confronted by these horrific crimes, Holmes
Alright, everybody, this is
while in Chicago.
Crunch Bitch. I'm gonna be signing out. I want to say thanks to everybody who enjoyed this game with me. If you know me, you know what I gotta say. If you don't know me, you type in Christopher Kneecap on YouTube, hit that like button. This is Crunch Bitch out. Bye.
Holmes, America's most accomplished serial killer, sat stone-faced as he recited ghoulish details of the slaughter. Indeed, as many future serial killers would do when they were caught.